last couple of days, virtually all the lines have been having problems.
Hmm.
You know. Mm.
All right. We just hope that some things get fixed and because we keep growing and we keep getting better at that. Thank you a lot. Let's really get right into the
Yeah.
conversation. Let's pick up with the NLC, the minimum wage. The NLC threatening strike action come Monday, December 1st. I'm saying if from the 36 states governors do not implement the national minimum wage, that NLC might go on strike. 33 governors have implemented, 3 left yet to implement. Do you see the possibility of this strike action being averted come Monday? Just today's Friday.
Of course. Well, of course, it can be averted, but you see, the big surprise is a place like Cross River State, and yet to sign on into the new minimum wage bill, minimum wage act. Well, that's quite surprising, really, because I expected them to be at the forefront because if you look at the structure of the economy is more organic than most of these states. It's a hub of tourism. It has a sustainability profile. So I don't know why they haven't signed on. Yeah, I can understand Katrina because, of course, these are less economically viable. Well, in terms of that is in quote less economically viable states. So if they would drag, on paying that, I can't or I can understand really, sort of. But all the same, what it essentially speaks of is what we have always been saying about people who get elected into office who don't know their right from their left. 70,000 naira minimum wage per month to federal workers is still too small. It's small, So, and with the kind of resources that each state has, there shouldn't be a problem. That is, if you have forward-thinking and progressive-thinking governors, chief of, that is the CEOs, state CEOs. If you have people who sit down and really think outside the box instead of waiting for federal revenue. Then, secondly, one of the reasons why they appear not to be able to meet that, quota, is because of too much waste within the system. There are a lot of waste. Governors are unwilling to cut down on their costs. Ask yourself how much do they allocate for their so-called what's it called security votes. When you look at what some of them pay as security, you can take care of salaries for 2-3 months. So what are we talking about? But of course it is within their hand to avert the strike. But unless some of them are pushed to the wall, you don't see them coming to a compromise. And I sincerely hope in the next 2 days or so, something is done. They have a sit down and talk it out, and to avoid the unnecessary strike that might happen on Monday.
All right.
Okay, so even when they implement this, for them to take this long to want to implement the 70,000 naira minimum wage, if they eventually do, is it sustainable for their economy?
Exactly.
Why is it not sustainable? Like I said even 70,000 naira is way too small
It's way
for
too
a
small,
worker.
yes. But for them to take this long to try to implement it, if they eventually try to implement it to avert the strike, from happening, is it sustainable for their economy?
Well, you see, I don't want to say it's not sustainable, really, because it's like excusing them for for just sitting down on their hands and doing nothing. Because they should have seen it coming. For over a year, that agitation has been on. So what I expect governors who are forward thinking, who are anticipatory of things like this, was to have seen, look for a way of showing up their revenue, so that if there is a shortfall whatsoever, the state can augment with their internally generated revenue. That is what I expect. So the issue of sustainability is not even acceptable at all. I don't even want to countenance that argument. It's just like excusing them for being lazy. So
Right.
this is my point, really. Because the question of whether it's sustainable or not, let's not give them that leeway out. Let's not give them that excuse.
But we
It's
also
sustainable.
we also need to speak to the reality, like you mentioned in your statement. Take for example Katsina, and Katsina State is not just the only less viable state. If you look through to Jigawa and then some other states are across the northeast, and then maybe a bit of the northwest, and then if you look through the south as well too. Realistically speaking, and some of these governors want to implement this, some might say for political gains and of course for recognition, and some might say the sustainability of this. We struggle. Okay, some state governors struggled with 30,000 naira minimum wage at some point. Now we have 40,000 naira increments. And then it's 70,000 naira. What my colleague is asking is, how sustainable would that be realistically? Also, in addition, will it put a strain on developmental projects in some of these less viable states? Speak to the facts.
Okay, yeah, I think it is sustainable, and I'll give you a very good example. I did say that they haven't taken time to look at to plug the leakages in the system. Now, let me give you a very good example about almost at the initial stage of Yaya Bello's inception in office. He commissioned, or it was one of the reasons why I actually looked to him, with promise. He commissioned a forensic audit of staff salary in Kogi State. And you need to see the kind of bloodletting, that the report, the total report, brought in. We are talking of a situation where a director in the state suburb, has a secondary school, and that is his own private secondary school, and all the staff in that school, their wage bill was passed on to the state government to pay. Can you imagine that? We are talking of close to 30 people paying direct salaries to staff, in a private a privately owned school. You understand? Then there was a case of, a police officer serving in a state in Yobe State, but apparently from Kogi State, earning 3 salaries apart from his police. So you have leakages like that. When the Governor Abdurrahman Abdulrazak came on board, of course, you saw the humongous, shady deals that were within the federal civil service structure. There are leakages within there. They are unwilling. They don't have the political will to plug it. You see, so that is why I said it is sustainable. And I'm unwilling to, countenance the fact that it's not sustainable. It's just that they don't want to sit down and take the knife or take a plug to plug those loopholes. That is what the problem is. And in the long run, 70,000 naira, you can cut back on your security votes and pay salaries. So for me, sustainability, yes. Okay, let's ask ourselves, why is Borno State not on the list? We all know that Borno has been under siege for quite a while. Yet the governor has been able to manage to pay salaries regularly, and his name is not on the list. So what excuses do the other 3 have? That is my point, really.
All right. Because of time, so we don't waste too much time on this.
Another story. Let's move to another story this morning. Now, another issue, the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control has alerted the public to the circulation of counterfeit combat dispersible tablet in the country. Now, how widespread is the circulation of this counterfeit malaria drug in Nigeria, and what are the potential health risks associated with consuming these fake drugs? Because at the end of the day, these drugs are coming through, like when you see a drug and it's NAFDAC approved, it gives you some sort of confidence to want to take the drug. And now the NAFDAC is saying they're trying to mop up this drug.
Level of assurance.
And so it's giving you a level of assurance to see these drugs and it's NAFDAC approved. But now they are still coming to say, oh, these drugs are not good enough, and they're trying to. How much mopping up can they do, to take away this malaria drug from circulation?
You see, NAFDAC over the years have built up capacity. Especially under Akunyili, a lot of things went into firming up the operations of that drug administration agency. But having said that, let us not forget that in terms of counterfeiting, in terms of peddling illegal substances into the system, Nigeria has a very serious problem. Let us not belabor the issue. It's a real fact. It's a reality in Nigeria. But you see, then of course you have to look at the economic crunch that is happening in the country. People are they are circumspect about even. They are not circumspect enough. Wherever they find cheap drugs, they go and take it. This is because of the prohibitive cost of drugs. Earlier in the year, when Bola Ahmed Tinubu came on board, when the issue of subsidy was the harshest, you saw common drugs like what's the name of this? The inhaler for people who have asthma skyrocketing up to 50-something thousand naira. How does a poor asthma patient, have access to that? You have a lot of people who are treating diabetes and high blood pressure. Yeah, you have the drugs hitting the roof. So many instances like that. So now when you now have something that is counterfeit but cheap, do you think people are going to be circumspect? So that is, you have to consider the economy in the first instance. But as to whether the NAFTA can mop up the thing in good time, well, like I said, they have structures, they have intelligence, they have frameworks to do that. They can, but I sincerely hope they understand the urgency of the situation, and move, to do that.
Nicholas, I just want to take you back a little bit and because beg to differ.
Okay.
I just want to just put my opinion there in a way and because to ask my question. Do you think the Nigerians who are treating an ailment will want to take a counterfeit drug truly? You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Because again, somebody who is trying to get off an ailment will not want to go.
Trying to get better.
Who's trying to get better will
We
not
don't want to cause more
logically.
illness,
Do you understand?
knowing that this is a counterfeit drug and this could actually potentially cause me more
damage.
More damage.
Now that's on the side. Let's register that again. How do this drug, all these drugs, how do they get into the country? That is what we should be talking about. Because if you recall, at some point there was this trend. That one soy sauce was was a counterfeit, and a lot of people say bringing out their soy sauces and then discovering that it was actually fake,
and they had been using it,
and they have been using and consuming it for some people. It's been 3 years. They've been using that soy sauce for a long time. Now my question is, and what is on the hearts of many Nigerians is, how did they get in? Don't we have people who are responsible to check some of these imported items into the country? Is that a failure on those who are responsible?
And saying this malaria drug is coming from India, according to the
that's
story.
obviously an imported drug.
It's imported.
We need to look at the structure, that is, have a clearer understanding of what we call counterfeit drugs. Is it counterfeit by the fact that it is expired drugs? That is one. Is it counterfeit drug because some counterfeiters sat down and concocted charcoal and chalk into a capsule and stamped it with, those are two different things, you understand? So it is all encapsulated in counterfeit drugs. You understand? So now, when you have expired drugs in an economy where traders are largely unscrupulous, well, that is some very, very bad eggs. Let me not say all majority. You understand? Let's not tabrush all of them. Where you have a few bad eggs. You understand? It takes a lot of deep suspicion and health education within the populace to know that these are counterfeit drugs. You understand? So you see, it is not as if if you look at it. Essentially, it is about poor education in areas like this. You understand? Poor education in health matters. That is the major problem. Then apart from that, like I said, there are very, very powerful syndicates that are well connected that are into this business. I recall that shortly before I went into university, I happened to have worked for Nigerian breweries. I worked for a brewing company, and a part of my work as a canvasser was to spot some of these things. Do you know, it was then I learned that there is an industry that manufactures fake bottle caps, fake labels. You understand? So each time you see the brewery, doing awareness and sensitization that I was part of to its retailers that, look, this is how you know the real one. You must see two marks like this showing you the expiry date and things like that. They showed me how to spot it. You understand? They showed me the glossy one is over glossy. Then theirs is more cheek and more mature. So, but then people who just want to get high don't even think. They just guzzle the whole thing. And in fact, we're at a point we were able to establish a retail cartel that specializes in selling fake products, of that brand, of about two of those brands. You understand? So, the what I'm saying is that, in fact, at a point, we even established that even one of the major, distributor of, that product, happened to be a counterfeiter in Kwara State there. I'm talking of this thing happened a long time ago. We are talking of the early 90s, between 91 and 93. So that is to tell you, if it existed then, that sophistication, that technology existed then, can you imagine what it is right now? So then, moreover, you see, when these people are arrested, what you see is that you see them connected to exceptionally powerful politicians. You understand? So that is why the thing appears intractable, because they have godfathers who back them. It's just like illicit drugs that NDLE has been fighting. You have a lot of barons that are behind them. These barons are not just ordinary people. They are very powerful people who will sway within the legislature, the executive, even the security agencies. So that is how serious the situation is. So then, of course, you have the smuggling ring. If they can smuggle in rice, they can smuggle in car, they can smuggle in all manners of, contraband goods. Is it drug that they can't smuggle in, that are counterfeited, that are outdated? No, come on. It's a very serious matter, really. It's an industry on its own that government needs to take apart.
All right, you say it's an industry. We literally just understand that. But again, I think we think that NAFDAC should do a lot more of sensitization and
public awareness.
A lot of public awareness, because again, I just probably want to stand on the side of the people to say that, you know what, a lot of Nigerians must have bought counterfeit products or counterfeited products without even knowing.
So how do you even know the differences?
I agree.
How do you know the differences? The public awareness thing is about, learning how to know what the difference is, because I would not willingly go and buy a counterfeit drug because it is cheap when I'm trying to solve an illness that I don't want it to escalate.
Daniela, come on, Daniela, you are educated. You are a broadcaster. You are a journalist. So, you see, the average journalist is way above the average Nigerian. That is the simple truth. In time, because you are a source of information management within the society.
Yes, I'm sorry to botch you. I'm sorry to botch you. I understand literally what you're saying, but at the same time, that's what we're asking on behalf of the people. So what Danielle is asking is a question as to relate to a lay Nigerian who doesn't understand or doesn't have the level of education Danielle has. So definitely might not know how to spot a counterfeit from the original.
Look, we are saying the same thing, really. So maybe in a roundabout way. I'm just saying that is the kind of danger that the average Nigerian is exposed to, without him even knowing it. You get my point. We are saying the same thing. It's just that I'm just trying to see the enormity of the problem that NAFDAC has on its hands, and I think that it's high time they rethinker with the law setting up NAFDAC to give it more bite, to give it more expansive power to do things, especially in the area of orientation. There is a need for it to have maybe sweeping powers to even co-opt the agency, the NOA.
Nicholas, we need to go. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Okay. We feel sad that you didn't join us early.
Hey! That time of the year don't reach again, Glow Festival of Joy promo don't land gidigba. And we dey make them happen heavy with bracket prices.